7 minutes it's showing, Daz.
Yeah.
8 minutes, really.
Yeah.
James, I'm going to send you just quickly now the newsletter. I think it's absolutely fine because I've proofread it a few times now. But would you just give it one last look for me? I'm sending a test version now, just in case I've made any errors and not spelled them. Oh. Ebony, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good, actually, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, looking forward to this event. I've spoken to both Lorne and Joel a couple of times. They're really good, really lively.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot to say about the publications that they work at, of course. So looking forward to it. We've also got a really good collection of attendees. There's over 10 of you now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it should be fun.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably limit it to about 45 minutes. But if we get to 45 minutes and there are still questions coming in, maybe we'll extend it.
Right. So are they going to talk first, and then you're going to kind of like open up the floor for?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a very introduction, very brief, and then I'm going to ask the two of them to introduce the publications and the jobs that they do there. It's actually take us about 10 minutes, probably. Give them both a good 5 minutes to tell us more about Enable and then just hand them over to you guys for scintillating chat. Yeah. So hopefully, Daz, we'll start seeing more people coming in now.
I think that newsletter's fine. All the links appear to work.
Great. Yeah, I just need to remember to send the thing, which I'll do in a few minutes. And so, Daz, any questions that come in, you'll wing them in via.
There's more coming in now. Yeah, I will.
Right. All right. So I've got to press send. Who have we got there? Lorne, good morning.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Very well. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you? You well?
Yes, very well. Anika, we're in.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear anybody.
All right. Georgia, is that you? I can see.
It is. Hello.
Oh, good morning. Grace, the room is filling up. Grace, how are you? Nice to see you. Are you in the office?
I am in the office, yeah.
Radina, welcome.
Hello.
So we're going to broadcast live on the website from 10:35. So we've got 5 minutes or so to just hang out and say hello to each other. Max, welcome. Welcome. No, Dan, are you here yet? I can't see it.
Good, thank you.
All right, so we're just in the middle of a bit of housekeeping, but do bear with us for a couple of minutes.
So we're live in 3 minutes.
All right, thanks, Darren. But you know what? I'm struggling to see you all. What would be really helpful, with the exception of Lorne and Joel, because I know you're here, if you could all just say hello on the chat. I know.
$8.5 billion. So what, about 5 billion times?
Great. Great. Ali Melpas, Media Bounty, hello.
Hello.
I am unsure as to how to pronounce Chen's surname. I was going to ask her when she turned up, but maybe you could tell me if you know.
I'm actually not sure either, to be honest. Radina and Max might be able to help.
I don't think I've ever said her last name out loud, actually. Chen Chui.
Yeah, so I was going to say Sui, spelled C-U-I.
I think it's Chewy, but we can
Chewy.
we can ask her. I've actually never said her last name out loud, so I don't know.
Okay, we're live in 2 minutes. I will mute you all, bar Lee. He's going to do the intro. Don't forget to focus from 30 seconds down, Lee. And then Lee will do the intro. And then don't forget to unmute yourselves when it's your turn to have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very, very brief introduction. Nathan, nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I'm going to do a brief introduction. I'm just going to quickly send our newsletter. This will let everybody know that we're live on the Silence website. Chen, you're here.
Hello.
Welcome. Tell me, Chen, I wasn't sure how to pronounce your surname. Sorry to ask. Is it Chewy?
Chen Cui.
How do I pronounce
Wait, you're right.
Say again?
Chen Cui.
Sorry.
Cui. Yes, Radina.
Next.
Spell that
They
for
asked me, I'm like, I've never actually said your name out loud.
I-
Your last name, rather.
Chen, if you were to spell that, if you were to spell it phonetically, how would I say it?
No, I can't pronounce it my name now.
What was it? Sui.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a S.
S-E-W, Chewy.
Yeah.
S-E-W.
Okay, 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds to go. Lee, don't forget to focus. I'm going to mute you all.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to Meet the Editors. We are joined today by Lorne Gillis from Enable and Joel Campbell from The Voice. Enable magazine is the UK's leading disability title, and The Voice is our only black newspaper. We also have a wondrous flock of media folk here ready to ask Lorne and Joel some questions about their publications. And if you're watching live on the Silence website, Lorne and Joel are looking forward to hearing your questions too. Lorne, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
Very, very well. You okay today?
Yes, I'm doing good, thank you very much.
So I wondered if you wouldn't
Do
mind
you have social media?
kicking off for us by telling us more about your role.
Yeah, of course. So I am the editor of Enable magazine, and Enable is the UK's leading disability and lifestyle title. So within my role, I work with our other wonderful staff writer, Emma, and the kind of wider sales team as well. And we speak to members of the disabled community on a daily basis, be that people living with disabilities or their carers, charities, other professional bodies as well. And we pride ourselves on always writing content kind of exclusively. We don't just regurgitate press releases, we really kind of pride ourselves on working directly with the disabled community and speaking to them and sharing their kind of experiences as well. So that's kind of my daily role, is speaking to members of the disabled community and sharing their experiences.
Can you give us some examples of recent stories that you've carried?
Yeah, of course. So the most recent issue just now is the May June issue, and within this issue we were investigating the decline of people living with dementia because of lockdown. So obviously, because we've all had such a hard time in lockdown ourselves, but people living with dementia, their social skills have rapidly declined. They've lost maybe skills that people would take for granted, such as remembering how to feed themselves and things like that. And that has been accelerated because of lockdown. So we were speaking with carers to find out how that has been for them. Because obviously, if you're watching your loved one decline and it's because of this lockdown, you're not getting to see them, that's been quite hard. But we've also in this issue looked at LGBTQ plus education for the disabled community, because it's very common for people to think that just because someone's living with a disability that they might not be sexually active or have healthy relationships. So it's not uncommon for people to actually be asked to leave a classroom when it's around sex and relationships. So we've investigated this issue as well to find out what more needs to be done to kind of make sex education inclusive as well, and also focusing directly on kind of LGBTQ plus issues as well within the disabled community, because that is a section of society that has been quite marginalised that we've found. And then this issue, we also spoke to the BBC international correspondent Orla Gurin to highlight the story of a wonderful wee boy in Yemen who's 9 years old, who was blind from birth, and he stands up in his classroom in Yemen to teach his fellow peers when the teachers are unable to attend. So we got to speak to him this issue as well, which was just absolutely wonderful. He's such a powerhouse of a wee boy. So that's just three I would say key articles that we've looked at this issue. But it's an 84-page magazine, so we cover absolutely everything.
Great, thank you for that introduction. Can I ask, is that your colleagues that I can hear in the background?
Yes, it is. Sorry, we are in the office.
Would you mind either putting yourself on mute when Joel is talking,
of course,
or
yeah.
kindly asking if they wouldn't mind giving us some silence for the next 15 to 20 minutes while we're doing this interview with you, because it's amazing to hear what you've got to say, and a little distracting to hear them in the Joel, good morning. Welcome to you. Are you there? Joel, you're on mute. Can you hear me? I can see you.
I can see you. I think, am I unmuted now? I can see the green screen around.
Now,
good morning, Lee. All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Joel. How nice to see you. So, would you kindly introduce your publication and tell us a bit about your role there at the moment?
Well, I work for the, as you probably can see in the background, The Voice newspaper, Britain's longest running and only Black newspaper now. I think it's actually the only Black newspaper in Europe. I could be wrong, but last time I checked, there wasn't another publication like us. We've been running for 39 years this year, approaching our 40th anniversary next year. Very, very excited about that. My role down there is lifestyle and entertainment editor, although I've been at The Voice since 2002 in 2 different stints and worked with them as a client in between those stints. So I'm well versed with the product and the brand, and feel fully immersed in the fabric of what we do. And what we do is serve the Black community in Britain. The African, Caribbean, Black British experience is what we like to lend a voice to, hence the name of the newspaper. Born out of frustration and protest back in 1982. The paper was founded by Val McCullough, who was a firebrand media. I won't call him a mogul, but he was of that ilk. And he had a vision, which was to bring about better representation of Black people, their narrative, their story, and to give them a voice. Because quite frankly, there wasn't too many publications or platforms that were serving that need, not in an organic or genuine way anyway. As a a bit of an example. I mean, for those who might never have come across The Voice before, when I was young, I was sent to the shop by my mother to buy 2 newspapers at a time when you could send a young boy to the shop. And I came back and I remember having this conversation with her. Why did she want me to get 2? Why did she buy this one and that one? There was about 7 or 8 options and I didn't quite understand. And she said, I want you to see yourself. And I said, but Mum, I'm not in the paper. I didn't really understand it. I was only 7 or 8 years old. Years later, representation, mattering, being a buzzword is still an issue. Black people still don't feel that they're seen in their multiple guises. We're not a homogenous group of people that are a one size fits all. And so the place for The Voice is still as relevant today as it was 40 years ago when it was born. I cover a range of areas under my hat of lifestyle and entertainment editor. It gives me actually the right to walk into pretty much any world and inquire as to, whether we're in that space, whether our voices are being heard in that space, and to tell stories of people who have climbed and attained in a professional sense in areas where there are few Black people, in order to kind of shine a light on their journey, to highlight the fact that, Black people are everywhere, and for young Black people out there that are aspiring to be part of worlds where they don't necessarily see themselves, actually, The Voice will highlight stories of people that might not necessarily get highlighted by other publications and platforms. So we are what we say on the tin. We are the voice of the Black community, and we'll continue to do that for as long as we're alive. I mean, we've been alive a little bit longer than certain other publications. I'll leave those watching to do their own research on that. But The Independent is one of them that hasn't been alive for as long as we have. And given the trajectory of newspapers and, the print press over the last few years, we've done very, very well to survive. But we're here, still going strong. And we hope to represent the Black community for at least another 40 years to come, at least while I'm alive anyway.
Thank you, Joel. That's a very nice introduction. So I'm now going to start passing over Lorne and Joel to our wonderful attendees. Anika Williams from the Spark Foundry. I'm going to start with you. Do you have a question for either Joel or Lorne?
Yeah, hi everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah. So my question is literally just about how you guys got started, how your journey into your position that you are today, and have you come across any struggle getting to where you are today? Because you're obviously working for 2 very different and influential sort of publications. So what was your journey to it, and what was the struggle, if there was a struggle? Was there any sort of challenges that you come up against in your time?
So I'm going to ask Lorne to answer that one first, if you would, Lorne.
Yeah, of course. So my background is I actually went to university to do a degree in journalism, and from that, once I graduated, I actually fell into the third sector, doing some kind of charitable work with people that have kind of drug and alcohol dependency and mental health issues. And then this position as a staff writer became available at DC Publishing, where I am just now. And within this role, I came in as staff writer, and I'll be honest, I had a very kind of broad and limited view of disability. I'd only met a couple of people with disabilities in my life. I've obviously met people, as I mentioned, kind of in the third sector that had maybe kind of mental health conditions and addiction issues, but I wasn't kind of versed in speaking with people who have learning disabilities or physical disabilities. So I would say maybe not a struggle. It was definitely a learning curve to become aware of positive language, words not to use, kind of questions that maybe I didn't realise would have been offensive. Well, not offensive, but not kind of what was right. So that was kind of a big learning curve. And I would say even kind of going up the ranks and becoming editor now, like I'm still learning to this day, which is fantastic. So definitely not a struggle, but a very big kind of learning curve for me. So yeah, that's kind of been my journey.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's nice.
Joel, what's your response to that question?
Mine, well, it's I knew from the age of 14 I wanted to be a journalist. So I knew I wasn't going to be a footballer. Things were very clear to me very early. So after that, I just plotted out the path to become a journalist, which involved college, universities, A-levels. I identified the best university in the country. I mean, my thinking was if I'm here in the UK, we might as well aspire to attend the best university possible. So found that, did that, was taught by the best. And I identified where I wanted to work when I finished, located who I was going to get in touch with, did that, told them that I wasn't going to leave them alone, didn't. And yeah, 20 years later on, I'm still a part of this organization, but my drive at that point was to be a sports journalist. And when I knew I wasn't going to be a footballer, it was centered on two things: covering sport and seeing the world. So I just did that. Literally worked harder than any other journalist that was established or new. Made sure I was everywhere. Made sure I built that contacts book. I still have that contacts book to this day. Some of the numbers in there are still relevant, just some. And literally just targeted everything I wanted every step of the way and made sure I attained it and then set new goals. So I won't go into the whole full journey, but that's pretty much how I did it. When I got to about 6 or 7 years into having done everything I wanted to do, being headhunted and had opportunities that, ticked all the boxes, I then started to reset my goals and try to understand exactly what else I wanted to do. And I feel like I'm falling to the side. Is it right? Does it look like that as well?
You look fantastic. Don't worry.
Oh, I look good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and literally I did that, reset the goals, reset the focus, steered in a different direction. But I understood the internet. I understood ownership. I understood creating a library. So I did that. I created a library of content. Did that for a number of years. I still do that, independent of what I do at The Voice. So this whole notion of being a journalist, getting into this space, I was lucky that my journey coincided with the advancement of tech and the advancement of opportunity and the opening up of a space that allowed you to pursue one area as a core area of expertise, if you like, and multiple other areas that you could just dabble in and see where they took you. So here I am now with lifestyle and entertainment area, obsessed with art, theatre, festivals, and all things lovely like that. So it's been quite a change in terms of my trajectory, but the beautiful thing is that I've been in control of that every step of the way. So if I could encourage any young aspiring journalist to do anything, it's do as much of that as possible.
Okay, thank you. Great. Anika, that was a fantastic question to kick us off. Grace Roberts from AKA. Good morning, Grace. I ask you to ask a question.
Great, thank you so much. Hi everyone. It's great to hear your stories and how you kind of got to where you are today. So thanks for that. My question was sort of around your audiences and how they interact. My company deals with a lot of clients that are arts and culture based, so it's really interesting to hear that, Joel. And just kind of how you feel that your the people that you speak to with your titles and how they feel represented in those spaces. Because obviously it's a big thing that's being discussed at the moment about diversity, and the arts is what kind of wants to be at the forefront of that. But do you feel that they're always represented in that way? And what do your titles do to help develop that and get them access?
Great question. Sorry, am I answering or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, great question. One of the things I targeted when I came back to The Voice's lifestyle entertainment editor was I set 3 goals, actually. This is what kind of refers to what I was talking to earlier. The first one was I was quite conscious that in the travel space, you may walk the streets and open a magazine or a newspaper and you just won't see any adverts directed at Black families, any adverts celebrating the fact that Black people go on holiday. and engage in just about every other vacation type pastime that anybody else does. And I didn't understand it. So they needed to understand that we were here. So I set about creating a travel publication that The Voice put out. It was the first time The Voice has ever done it. That was the first goal. The second goal was to establish a relationship with the Tate Museum. Because if you understand the history of the Tate Museum, if you understand how the ascent of that institution has taken place from its inception, then you understand that Black people have been immersed and are intertwined with that from the beginning. You wouldn't necessarily look at it and see that nowadays. And that was something I wanted to address. Also, art knows no color. There are no barriers to entry. So the best of it should be heralded and celebrated as such, without no barrier, no bars, no roof, no ceiling. So I've been engaged in discourse with the Tate over the last 3 or 4 years, which has seen us bring about a better relationship and them understand more how to engage with the Black community in that way. The last thing I wanted to do was write a significant story about Barack Obama. And that's on the front page today. So go and pick that up.
Fantastic. Lauren?
Yeah, so as Joe kind of mentioned there, when it comes to kind of barriers and things like that, we've found that for the disabled community, there are still some barriers to getting go into the arts and theatre and things like that. But we always try, in every issue we have kind of focuses on arts, different theatres that are have kind of sensory hours and things like that. But what we are trying to also spotlight is the arts, theatres, films, kind of anything creative, that it's not just oh, here is an hour for somebody who maybe has a sensory disability. It's, we want to see people with disabilities on the stage in film. It's not just part of a tick box. So each issue we are currently like speaking to actors and things like that. At the moment, we've spoken to George Webster, who is a wonderful actor who has Down syndrome, and he was in a great film last year, and he's in an upcoming film as well, and that's getting so much interaction on social media at the moment because people want to see actors with disabilities. Obviously, Tommy Jessup, who was in Line of Duty, as I'm sure everybody here has probably watched. So it's fantastic to see that the disabled community are slowly getting welcomed into art theatre as more than just here's your sensory hour. And we do highlight that in the magazine and online, as I've mentioned, but there is more that needs to be done, as Joe said, about advertising and things like that as well. It can't just be like a tick box afterthought thing. It needs to be if you're disabled, there are special kind of, be that access into theatres, and I know that's not always possible if it's old buildings and things like that, which is unfortunate, but we do understand that. But even just having that platform of disabled people enjoy being creative and the arts and things like that as well. So we always try and cover things like that.
Thank you, Lauren. David Geary at Tank Top. David, good morning. David, are you there? Oh, maybe we've lost David. All right, we'll come back to David. Nathan Taylor Billings at Essence. Your question this morning.
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you all. So as Lee said, I'm Nathan from Essence, digital advertising agency. So I guess one question for me is, what would you like to see agencies do different? So I'm looking after the D&I initiative at Essence and really pumping this across, trying to get all of our clients to not just talk about it, but do something about it. You know, everyone can talk the talk, but it's actually backing up your talk with actions, letting your clients actually be a part of what we're talking about today on this call. And from your shoes, it'll be good to see what you would like companies like Essence and other agencies across the UK and the globe, what would you like to see us doing? And if you had a question, what would that be?
That's a fantastic question, Nathan. Thank you. Lauren, I'm going to ask you to answer that one first.
Perfect. Yeah, Nathan, that was a fantastic question. Well, disabilities all around us. There's 4.1 million disabled people in the world. We live in a society where we're getting older and people will get disabled, be that, I mean, everyone in this call at some point might end up having arthritis. That is considered a disability as well. So it's being aware that disability isn't something that we should be shying away from. In the past, people with a disability were put into institutions and asylums. We are so far past that, and we need to be accepting that disabled people they want to go shopping. So Topshop need to have a disabled model as well, be that in a wheelchair, somebody with an amputation, with Down syndrome. And then we also need to be, it shouldn't be, and I know I keep saying it shouldn't be a tick box, but we live in such a multicultural society. Everybody needs to see themselves represented in the media. You need to have small children that are watching television shows or adverts and they see themselves, be that if they're Black, a person of colour, transgender, disability, that all needs to be kind of included and featured. Everybody needs to see themselves in society. And what I think kind of advertising agencies could do is just be even more aware of that, and know that there's even small things can make your product more accessible. So you can, for example, advertising in Enable magazine. Just because somebody's disabled doesn't mean that they're not watching Netflix, they're not kind of going on the high street, shopping in Boots, wearing makeup, you know, things that we all do, that's disabled people do the same. So I would really love to see kind of more agencies just taking that on board, that it's not this niche kind of environment, it is, we are all kind of part of the society, and just to be more aware that disabled people are using the same products that we're all using every day.
Thank you, Lauren. Joel?
Yeah, for me, all of what Lauren said, to be honest with you, applies to Black people. But I'd also add to that the conversations I'm having now center on last year being a tumultuous year for Black people. The outpouring of emotion and the unveiling of some of these deeply held frustrations, the conversations. We're all aware of what happened, and on top of that, it was a pandemic and we were all locked down. So it was a tough year for Black people last year. And I think a lot of those conversations have been heard by institutions and people in a position to instigate and bring about scene change. So we're getting inundated with editorial opportunities. What we're not getting though is a slice of the media spend. That doesn't seem to have extended its way to us. And in order to survive and build upon what we're doing, I think ad agencies need to be aware of how they're slicing that pie. That's just to be quite straight on that. I also feel in order to enable that to happen, better relationships need to be fostered for longer periods of time. Because it's clear that we're all chasing the numbers, because ultimately that's what gets us the money. But in order to build towards those numbers and garner a greater understanding of the different groups that ad agencies are dealing with, fostering tighter relationships over longer periods of time will only help both institutions in the long run. So I think that that's something that I'd add on top of everything that Lauren has brought to the table.
Okay, thank you. Chen Sui, Media Bounty. Chen, good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm good. I think that's a really nice question, actually, kind of lined up with what I want to ask. So I am media planner and buyer, and the reason that I got connected with Silence Media is kind of the programmatic planning and buying, the background behind it. And one of the unique selling points from Silence Media is the inclusivity. And it's really hard, like I think my question is going to be quite really practical, because whenever I pitch the idea of Silence Media to the client, there's basically two types of client, like you guys just mentioned. Like one, are really, really aware, where are the media budget going? Who are they targeting? Are they being inclusive or not? Those are the clients who are willing to pay more, no matter CPM or CPC, they're willing to pay more to reach the wider audience. However, sadly, those type of clients is not the majority yet, and it's really hard for kind of us. Example, I really want to push, for example, all the diversity, especially domains and inventories, to all the clients. However, most of the clients will be like, oh, that's quite expensive, why are we paying so much more? And like, for your background, like Daily Mail, The Sun, they always basically hoover up the most like kind of the cheapest CPM, and then the normal client will always go, oh, why can't we just invest more than just into the kind of the most common domains? But that is kind of the bad circle. And that is really struggling for me in terms of, I feel like in terms of creative content, key messaging, even recruitment, everywhere you can show the diversity. However, when it comes to media planning and media buying, it's really hard, like for agency to convince the client, to convince the buyers like where you should really invest your budget ethically. And I feel like that's kind of the gap that agency always experiencing. And I don't know, do you have any kind of opinions or thought over that? But yeah.
Joel, do you want to take that one?
I understand the dilemma. I really do, and I think that the issue centers on awareness, awareness and establishing new habits. The old habits are fostered on looking for the cheapest outlay, the greatest return, and that's kind of normal. I get it, but in terms of people identifying the value of bespoke searches, bespoke partnerships over the long term, that reducing their overall spend, because they will actually be hitting a targeted audience that's definitely interested in their product, brand, service, whatever. I think that's where the awareness needs to be brought, because the numbers are there in terms of Black people and what they consume and how they consume. So there's no denying that. We can link the empirical data together in a way that they can understand over a period of time, if they were to focus their efforts here, that cheap spend that they think is cheap now will only get cheaper, but yet more targeted. So the awareness is what needs to be driven. And if we can bring about more tailored ideas between the likes of Silence Media and their partners over a longer period of time, I think that's where we'll see the greatest return on investment.
That's a wonderful answer, Joel. Thank you. I'm going to ask Simon Giss now from Mediacom to ask his question. Simon, good morning.
Great to be here. Thank you so much. I guess my question was earlier around readership. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of, awareness has grown and kind of focus has grown, but I'm wondering if you're seeing kind of, I guess, demographics and different various readerships changing over the last couple of years in terms of who's coming to your site and reading your content, because that'd be really interesting to me. It seems like everyone's more focused on this, on the issues of equality over the last couple of years. I'm wondering if this has been reflected in what you're seeing as well.
Thank you, Simon. Lauren, can I ask you to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So I definitely think that our readership has evolved in the last few years, especially since the pandemic. There's a lot of people that, as Joel has touched upon, last year was a hard year for many of us, and disabled people also were kind of greatly impacted from care homes not allowing visitors to come in, families not able to see kind of children who are in kind of these residential care units and things like that. And then also people who are acquiring disabilities through the pandemic. One of the interviewees we spoke to actually caught COVID, and then she caught sepsis and is now a quadruple amputee. So she started 2020 as a normal, if you want to use that word, woman, and now she is a quadruple amputee and she is figuring out the benefit system. She is getting carers. She's having to adapt her home. We look at Kate Garraway's husband and the documentary. She's now having to adapt her home and figure out, oh, do I have to give up work? It's great that these people are shining such a light on this topic, because it feels like disability is finally getting the spotlight, that it's not just if you're born disabled, there is anything in this world that can make you disabled. So our readership definitely has changed from people who maybe it would have been just a passing, oh, this maybe doesn't impact me, but I know a little bit about it. Now we are noticing our figures gradually creeping up, because people are realizing, oh, well, I think I'm a carer now, or, oh, benefits, do I apply for PIP? What is PIP? The kind of 2-meter rule as well, which is being hotly debated as well. We cover everything from what theatre productions are available, like Grace touched upon, to benefits, to housing adaptations, to clothing that you can wear if you are a wheelchair user, to the experiences of unpaid carers and things like that. So our readership definitely is growing, it's advancing. There is no, I don't think I could pinpoint one specific readership, because it goes from 18 to 80, all different races, different gender identities, different sexualities, because disability affects everyone. So definitely in the last year, we have seen our readership kind of change exponentially, and so many more subscribers to the magazine and visiting our website and social media channels as well.
Thank you, Lorne. Joel?
Yeah, I think our readership has been pretty stable in terms of the numbers and the demographic. You know, it's mostly women, slightly older, between the ages. Well, we're not capturing the young ones in the way that we want, and that's where we want to see the growth. And I guess it's the same for everybody else. We've held stable with our readership. If anything, we've seen more women gravitate to our platform over the last year than normal, across the ages as well. I guess it's, for us, it's not really about expanding beyond that. But what we've benefited from is more interest from a wider audience. So nothing's really changed. We're quite stable in that respect. A lot of our growth and what we're targeting is that younger demographic, that younger audience. So I hope that answers your question. We've got a groundbreaking research survey going out this week. Went out this week actually on Monday, which is going to target around 250,000 Black Britons. We're doing it in conjunction with Cambridge University, and we're going to be asking them to kind of chronicle their experience, their Black experience in Britain. First time it's ever been done. We're hoping the statistics will provide a bit more quality than the recent government survey in that same area. And I expect that to drive readership in a way that we've never seen, and hopefully connect with that younger audience that we want. But in terms of, the 20 to 40-year-old woman, we cover that box. They're pretty much our predominant reader, and gravitate to all our platforms. So yeah, that's where we are.
Thank you. Georgia Beattie from Leeds City Council. What's your question?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us on here today. It's been really interesting so far, listening to these amazing questions and answers come back. So the question for me is around content creation and support for content creation. So there has been some criticism recently online regarding certain platforms that have been working with diverse and often marginalised voices, asking them to create content and then not necessarily supporting and sharing that then on their platforms. The question to you guys is, what advice do you give to similar platforms that are, claiming to share support for diverse and marginalised voices, in terms of content creation, curation, and distribution. And then particularly, what do you guys think about the way in which platforms such as yourselves request and share that particular content, particularly asking these artists for free content when they're already quite marginalised anyway?
Lauren, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, it's definitely an issue having asking people to create content and then not kind of sharing. We definitely do not do that. We are a very, very small team, and we all work very closely with any people who are coming towards us to give us or pitch articles and things like that. And we have a strong kind of columnist base that we do kind of fund as well. Obviously, we are a small company, so we would love to kind of pay everyone that can get involved. But what we do is we, anyone that does get involved in the magazine, be that through an interview or promoting their artwork or anything that they're creating, we always aim to include that within the magazine. And if it's not in the magazine, it goes up on our website, and we signpost and hyperlink everyone to websites that the individual would like us to kind of signpost them to. And just recently, we interviewed a young lady who is living with MS, who was diagnosed when she was in her second last year of high school. And her story was very powerful, and that's not my story. I can't share her story the way she can, and she was an aspiring writer. So what we were able to do is we gave her 2 pages within the magazine to write her content and share her story, and we have that small budget that we can give to people. And it's never a case of, if you come to us, we're going to take your idea. I'm very personally, I hate people that do that. I've had it done to me before, so I'm very, very against that. But so any opportunity that we have to share the voices and the works of other people, we do it. Again, like I said, we can't pay everyone, but we always use our platform. We've got 28,000 social media followers. We've got a newsletter that goes out to 90,000 people. We've got our website. Even if we can't give them money, we know that we can give them a platform to share their voice. And whenever, if it's something that is pertinent and relates to the magazine or the website, we will aim to share those experiences.
Thank you. Sorry, I'd muted myself. That's a wonderful answer, Lauren, and a great question, Georgia. Joel, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question directly, what would I advise people to do if they think they see there was verbal commitment but no action? The Raheem Sterling effect. Call them out in public, and show the examples of where they're falling short of whatever they projected, and let people know that they're not actually delivering and meeting the standards of contemporary expectations. That's what I'd say to do. We give people, a little bit like Lauren described, we give anyone an opportunity to come and deliver their narrative, to tell their story, as long as they're able to deliver it in a way that's palatable for our audience, in a way that is professional. We can't always pay, but we do look to where we can. Again, we're in a similar situation to Enable. We're a small organization, but we like to punch above our weight, and that means giving people an opportunity to get their voice out there. So we're always up for that. One of the things I was big on when I came back to The Voice in this capacity was to ensure that the LGBTQI community felt that they could engage with The Voice, because that's been an underlying narrative that maybe it's not quite the place for them, even though they're Black. Not under my tenure. Everybody should have a chance to tell their story, and their story is just as important to anybody else's. So some people might find that surprising, but I just find it surprising if that wasn't the case. So in terms of giving everybody an opportunity, that's what The Voice is there for. Paying people isn't always easy, but where the work deserves reward, we like to think that we are able to do that. And a little bit like I said in my last question, we like to build partnerships with people. So if they're growing and if they're working and actively delivering content in that space, and it's delivering numbers for us, and it's just working, then we have to find a way to reward them in some shape or form.
Okay, thank you. Max Harris, Media Bounty. Good morning, Max.
Morning.
Are you?
First of all, it's really nice to hear about your publications. I find them really inspiring and important. And I suppose my question is, I know obviously kind of in the modern world, and particularly with COVID as well, like a lot of news has moved kind of virtual, and a lot of people are consuming media digitally as well. And I was wondering, in terms of like a planning perspective, do you find your publications are still valuable for advertising space in addition to kind of your website and online, or are they both kind of equally as important?
Thanks. Lauren, do you want to take that one?
Of course. Yeah, I think advertising both in print and online is so important. Yeah, everything is going digital. There's no denying that. And we need to always keep an eye on digital content. And it's good for us to, if there's a breaking news story, you can put it up online, because in our bi-monthly magazine, that news isn't going to be news at that point. But you need to have that kind of, print will never die. I don't think we'll never not have magazines or newspapers. So as much as digital buying is important, we also put a big onus on within print as well. And for digital, there is more opportunity because you can have online articles that can be paid for. We've got banners, we've got different opportunities for videos and things like that to go up on the website as well. So there's maybe in terms of digital more scope with Enable to have different opportunities to promote your brand, and there's different ways that you can promote it as well, which is quite exciting. And we're always dead keen and looking forward to working with different people and building up those partnerships, and even kind of adapting how we work in a way to work with you. If there's something digital that you have in mind, we always try and see how we can accommodate that. And it's very uncommon that we can't accommodate something on digitally, but I would say in terms of print and digital, advertising is so important on both of them. Digital, you've got more scope for different things. In print, you also have the scope of doing a full page advert, and then we can give you a page of editorial as well. So there are packages available for both, but as much as digital is important, print will never die, in my opinion.
We'll never die. Joel, I bet you agree with that. So we are coming towards the end now, and I've got 3 more guests who'd like to put their questions to you. So I'm going to ask, first of all, Ali Melpas at Media Bounty to ask her question. Good morning.
Morning, guys. First of all, it's been really fascinating. It's great to really hear your personal stories and how you got into your publications and just learn a bit more about it. My question's, I think, a bit more to Lorne, but it's about, digital media as well. And I was wondering if the move to digital media presents both challenges and opportunities for people that might have limited accessibility. Is there any extra considerations for the disabled community that have to be put in place? Thanks for everything so far.
Well, it's our pleasure. Lorne, would you like to take that?
Yeah, of course. So in terms of digital, I think digital is actually a great way for the disabled community to get involved with different forms of advertising, because it's on digital. If somebody's visually impaired, they will have a screen reader. For somebody who's visually impaired or blind, their phone is their form of independence, because there's all these different apps, so it can come up, like it can read an advert for you, it will also describe through image description. In terms of video advertising, you can have captions on the video, which would help someone who's deaf or hard of hearing. And then as well, even somebody who has a physical disability, they're still able to use digital media, whereas maybe for some instances, for example, somebody who's blind, unless it's Braille, they're not able to use or read a magazine, or if somebody's maybe physically disabled, they might not like reading a physical copy, they maybe prefer to look at something digitally. So in terms of accessibility, digital is so important, and we cover that quite a lot in different articles. I know it's more advertising you're thinking about there, but digital is so important, and it's very important, I think, for companies to be aware that the digital aspect is there for the disabled community.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, our next question comes from Ebony Rebecca Anderson. Hey, Ebony.
Hiya. Thank you both for sharing about your publications. It's been really interesting. So my question is, how do you get feedback in terms of the content that you create, and making sure that it reaches your target audience and that you're fulfilling your aims and missions?
Joel, do you want to take that? And just let me say before you answer that question, I just want to talk a little bit about Ebony. Because Ebony is a freelance graphic designer. Have I got that right, Ebony?
No, it's fashion.
Fashion, sorry. Freelance fashion designer. And Ebony is a member of Silence's Diversity and Inclusion Council, our external council. So we have a wonderful collection of young people who are advising us on numerous things. For example, the websites on which we might want to advertise. So I thought I'd give Ebony a little plug before Joel, you answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's the traditional various guises, through the website, letter that goes out. I think there's a newsletter that goes out. It's not to say I think there is a newsletter that goes out. You can email us, and then pretty much the way that most people do it, online. You know, our readers, listeners, viewers aren't shy about telling us how they feel. They're pretty vociferous in comment sections and in our DMs about what they want to get across. So there are various different ways that people can engage with us and give us feedback, and we interact. Actually, it's been a way forward for a few of my colleagues to actually be more interactive with comments and comment sections, which for the traditional journalist in me isn't the done thing, I must admit, but I do embrace the new way forward, and I think it's working. So I have to hold my corner. But yeah, that's the kind of various different ways that we connect with our audience.
Thank you. What about you, Lauren?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Joel mentioned there. So people are not shy in coming forward if there's something that maybe they don't agree with or isn't relating to their experiences. And we are very committed to sharing everyone's experiences. So if there's something that they're not happy with, we'll phone them, be like, okay, why are you not happy with this? What's been your experiences? So like Joe said, we've got people who get in touch with us via letter, some people phone us, but it's very mainly through kind of social media as well. If we post something on Twitter or through our DMs on Facebook and things like that as well, be that, oh, I wasn't happy with this, or you should cover this, or here, I think you should be promoting this. Have you heard of this person as well? So we love engaging with our followers and our readers as well, because the magazine is for them. And also within my welcome letter, in every issue, I signpost them to different ways that they can get in touch with myself or another member of the team. And it's always great getting emails from people saying that they enjoy the magazine and have different ideas to pitch as well.
Thank you, Lauren. This has been an exceptional morning. It's been great to hear all these questions and to hear these magnificent answers too. So we're coming to an end. We've got our final question. And that comes from Radina Galabova, who also works at Media Bounty. Unless she's
Oh,
got...
there we go. Unmute.
You're there. Hello, Radina. So I hope you've got a good one. You're going to close.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for sharing how you work and your backgrounds. It's been really fascinating to hear from you. So I'm a senior creative at Media Bounty. And for me, I guess the story is most important. So I wanted to ask, how do you get the stories, or how do you find them? Do people come to you with stories? Do you go out and kind of look for them? And what's something that might not make the cut from your perspective?
Joe?
Ooh, I'm trying to deal with the last first. What might not make the cut?
Yeah.
I'm a lover of news. I'm a lover of stories. There isn't much that wouldn't make the cut. I'm actually, as the world opens up, I'm struggling with the load of stories that are coming in, delegating them, trying to get them all told, because I think they're all, like I said earlier, all relevant.
Yeah.
In terms of how we source news, pretty much there is no shortage of news for us. We are inundated. That's just the long and the short of it. We could fill several newspapers monthly. The mix of stories that I try and incorporate, I hope reflect, the vast, just difference that exists within the Black community. I was on the phone yesterday with a young lady who she runs a sound system and has done for the last 4 years now. There's just not very many Black women full stop, in sound system culture. I don't know if you've ever been to Carnival and heard the heavy bass that kind of rocks the corner of some of those streets in West London, and you might see a huge mix of people, from punk rockers to dreads to you name it, everything in between. And it's just heavy bass line and dub. And that's what she does. She'd be on the decks, and it's a great story, because she's actually bringing a whole, because of the pandemic, she's bringing her brand as a DJ, dubstep master, to a headset. She's created a headset. I mean, it's just a bizarre transition, but a natural one, I guess. And everything about her just screams, front page of my section. But I can tell you now, I've got 6 or 7 stories, all vying for that same spot. So sourcing stories is never an issue. The whole length and breadth of the country offers that. So yeah, that's not a problem for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm the same. Like, we are never short of stories as well. So we have very good relationships with different charitable organisations, from MenCat to Leonard Cheshire, and everyone in between, even kind of small local charities such as Finding Your Feet. So they sometimes come towards us with, we've got this fantastic volunteer, or a double amputee has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and we're like, well, yeah, we want to talk to this person. But then also, we, like Joel mentioned, we're never short of news stories. Unfortunately, there can be some hard factors for the disabled community, especially coming out of the pandemic. So we do try and cover that, but it's never ever just doom and gloom, because there's so many wonderful things happening in the disabled community as well. And we, as I mentioned, are such a small team, and we build relationships with everyone that we speak to, which is something we pride ourselves on. And it's for this reason that we can continue to get interviews with people like Dodie Weir, who is an ex-rugby player, kind of campaigning for Cure for MND. We speak with Katie Piper and Katie Price about her son Harvey quite often as well. And we're starting to build a relationship with Christine McGuinness and things like that. And it's just building that relationship and knowing that there's stories out there. Everyone has a story to share. So alongside, as Joe mentioned, looking at the news, people will come towards us, and we have such a strong base of charities. And then obviously in terms of disability, we're quite lucky that there are awareness days and things like that that we have to cover. For example, Sunday is World MS Awareness Week. So that's why it would be remiss of us to not feature that within the magazine and on our website as well. So we're never short of stories.
Thank you, Lorne. And thank you to all of you for joining us for Meet the Editors. Lorne, Joel, thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for your questions. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the live broadcast is over. We can relax. Someone's knocking at my front door. I'll be back. Oh, Peter, it's you. All right. So David Geary disappeared. Nathan, you're still there. Thanks, mate. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no, it was great. I didn't realize I was going to be the one that would be on live on YouTube until it had started. So